The rain battered the windows of my Brooklyn apartment, a relentless drumbeat that matched the ache in my chest. It was 3 months ago, but I could still hear Riley's voice, sharp as a blade, slicing through the quiet of that June evening. I need something real, Quinn. Something serious. We're done. Her words echoed in my skull, each syllable a fresh cut. I'd been curled up on my couch ever since, the scent of her lavender shampoo still clinging to the throw pillow she loved. I was 27, a graphic designer with a knack for turning chaos into art, but nothing could redesign the mess she'd left me in. My Riley was a 28-year-old lawyer, all polished suits and fierce ambition, the kind of woman who could silence a room with a single look. We'd been together for 2 years, 2 years of late-night talks, her fingers tracing constellations on my skin, her laugh filling the gaps in my world. But she wanted stability, she said. Someone who could match her 5-year plan. I wasn't enough. The city buzzed outside, horns blaring, life moving on without me. I sighed, the sound heavy in the empty room, and scrolled through my phone. Her Instagram was a gallery of her new life. Riley with her arm around some corporate type named Lauren, all perfect smiles and matching blazers. My stomach twisted. I tossed the phone onto the coffee table, where it landed with a dull thud next to a half-empty coffee mug. That's when the idea hit me, reckless and raw, born from the bitter sting of seeing her move on. If Riley wanted serious, I'd give her a show. I'd fake a girlfriend, someone glamorous, untouchable, the kind of woman who'd make Riley's jaw drop and her heart clench. I wasn't just going to survive this breakup. I was going to make her regret it. I posted a cryptic story on Instagram that night. A blurry shot of me laughing, my arm around a shadowy figure, captioned, "New vibes, new love." The figure was my cousin Mia, who'd agreed to play along for a few photos. Mia was 26, a freelance photographer with a wild streak and a grin that could charm anyone. She wasn't my type, but she was perfect for the ruse, tall, confident, with a knack for looking effortlessly cool in every frame. By morning, my notifications were a storm. Friends DM'd questions, emojis, heart eyes. And then there it was. Riley's name in my inbox. Who's the new girl? No greeting, no softness, just those 4 words, sharp as ever. I stared at the screen, my pulse racing, the air thick with the scent of rain and my own nervous sweat. She'd taken the bait. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I leaned into the game. Mia and I staged more photos. Her hand on my shoulder at a cafe, our shadows blending on a sunlit street, her laugh caught mid-frame at a rooftop bar. Each post was a dagger carefully aimed. Riley's messages kept coming short, probing, laced with an edge I hadn't heard since our last fight. You moved on fast. She seems fun. I could feel her jealousy through the screen, a crackle in the digital air. But the more I played this game, the more it consumed me. Every staged laugh with Mia felt heavier. Every fake smile a reminder of what I'd lost. The city's pulse, its car horns, its chatter, the clink of glasses in crowded bars, felt like a mockery of my hollow chest. I'd wanted to hurt Riley, to make her feel the way she'd made me feel. But now, as her messages grew more desperate, I wasn't sure who I was hurting more. One night, Mia and I were at a dive bar in Williamsburg, the kind with sticky floors and neon signs buzzing in the background. She leaned close, her breath warm with whiskey. Quinn, you're spiraling. This isn't just about Riley anymore, is it? Her eyes, sharp and knowing, cut through my defenses. I sighed, the sound swallowed by the bar's hum, and shook my head. I don't know what it's about, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. The truth was, I missed Riley. Not just her touch or her laugh, but the way she challenged me, pushed me to be better. The way her presence felt like home. This fake girlfriend scheme was supposed to be my revenge, my way of reclaiming control. But every post, every staged moment, only deepened the ache. I was drowning in my own plan, and Riley's jealousy was no longer the victory I'd imagined. Then came the text that stopped me cold. It was late, the city quiet except for the distant wail of a siren. Riley's message lit up my screen. Can we talk? In person. My heart thudded. a frantic rhythm against the stillness. I could smell the rain again, feel the weight of that June night when she'd walked away. Was this her reaching out, or just another twist in the game? I agreed to meet her at our old spot, a small park in Dumbo where we'd spent countless mornings tangled in each other's arms. The air was crisp now, autumn creeping in, the leaves crunching underfoot as I walked toward her. She stood by the river, her silhouette framed against the Manhattan skyline, her hands shoved deep in her coat pockets. The sight of her stole my breath, her sharp jawline, the way her hair caught the morning light. "Quinn," she said, her voice softer than I'd expected, almost breaking. "Is she real? This new girl?" I froze, the lie heavy on my tongue. The park was alive around us, joggers' footsteps, the distant bark of a dog, the faint smell of coffee from a nearby cart. I wanted to tell her the truth, to unravel the whole stupid plan. But something in her eyes, regret, maybe, or something deeper, kept me silent. "Does it matter?" I finally said, my voice low, the words catching in my throat. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her lavender shampoo again, and the world tilted. "It matters to me," she whispered. The park felt smaller than I remembered, the air thick with the weight of Riley's words. Her breath was visible in the cool morning, curling like smoke as she stood too close, her eyes searching mine. The distant hum of the city, cars rumbling over the Brooklyn Bridge, the faint chatter of tourists, faded into a dull roar. All I could hear was the uneven rhythm of my own breathing, the soft rustle of leaves under our feet, and the echo of her question, "It matters to me." I wanted to scream the truth, that Mia was just a prop, a shadow in photos meant to sting her, but the words stuck in my throat. Riley's gaze was a mix of fire and fragility, and it unraveled me. She'd always had that power, stripping me bare with a single look. I shoved my hands into my jacket pockets, the leather creaking, and took a step back to steady myself. "Why now, Riley?" My voice cracked, betraying the hurt I tried to bury. "You walked away. You chose her, Lauren, the serious one. What do you care who I'm with?" Her lips parted, but no words came. A jogger passed, sneakers slapping the pavement, and a pigeon fluttered nearby, its wings a sharp clap in the quiet. Riley's eyes darted to the ground, then back to me. "I didn't think you'd move on so fast," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I saw your posts, Quinn. You looked happy." Happy? The word landed like a punch. I wasn't happy. I was a wreck stitching together a lie to mask the hole she'd left. But I couldn't tell her that. Not yet. The plan was working, wasn't it? She was here, jealous, unraveling. I should have felt victorious, but all I felt was the ache of her nearness, the familiar scent of her lavender mixing with the crisp autumn air. "I'm trying to move on," I lied, my voice steadying. "You want it serious. I'm giving you space to have it." Her face twisted, a flicker of pain crossing her features. She took a step closer, her heels clicking softly on the path. "Lauren, she's good, Quinn. Stable. Everything I thought I wanted. But seeing you with someone else." She stopped, her breath hitching. And I swear I heard her heart pounding, or maybe it was mine. I wanted to grab her, shake her, ask why she'd thrown us away for someone who sounded like a spreadsheet in human form. Instead, I turned toward the river, the water glinting under the morning sun. "You don't get to do this," I said, my voice low, raw. "You don't get to leave me and then act like you still own me." "I don't want to own you," she said, her voice breaking. I miss you." The words hit like a tidal wave. I turned back to her, my chest tight, the air sharp with the smell of damp earth and coffee from a nearby vendor. For a moment we just stood there, the space between us electric, the city's pulse a distant hum. I could have reached out, touched her, closed the gap. But the weight of her choice, her rejection, held me back. "I have to go," I said, turning away before I could crumble. My boots crunched on the gravel as I walked, her silence chasing me. I didn't look back, but I felt her eyes on me, heavy as the morning mist. Back at my apartment, the rain had stopped, leaving the windows streaked and the air heavy with petrichor. I collapsed onto the couch, the throw pillow still faintly scented with her. My phone buzzed, Mia checking in. "How's the fake girlfriend gig going?" her text read, followed by a winking emoji. I laughed a hollow sound and typed back, "Too well." Mia showed up an hour later, her camera slung around her neck, her grin as disarming as ever. She sprawled across my couch, kicking off her sneakers with a thud. "You look like hell," she said, her voice warm but blunt. "Riley's getting under your skin, isn't she?" I sighed, the sound swallowed by the hum of the radiator. "She wants to talk. In person. Again." I told Mia about the park, Riley's confession, the way her voice had cracked. Mia listened, her fingers tapping the camera lens, her eyes sharp with understanding. "You're still in love with her," she said, not a question. I didn't answer, just stared at the coffee table, where my phone sat like a ticking bomb. Mia leaned forward, her voice softer now. "Quinn, this fake girlfriend thing was fun, but it's eating you alive. You gotta decide what you want, her or closure." Closure. The word felt like a door slamming shut. I didn't want closure. I wanted Riley back, her laugh, her touch, the way she'd hum off key while making breakfast. But she'd chosen someone else, someone serious. What was I supposed to do with that? Mia suggested we keep up the charade, at least for a little longer. "Post one more photo," she said, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Something that'll really mess with her. Then you decide how to end this." That night we staged our boldest move yet. A photo of us at a candlelit dinner, my hand brushing Mia's as we clinked wine glasses. The restaurant was packed, the clatter of dishes and laughter filling the air. The smell of garlic and red wine thick around us. I posted it with no caption, letting the image speak for itself. Riley's response was immediate. "We need to talk. Now." My heart lurched, but I didn't reply. Instead, I turned off my phone and poured another glass of wine, the liquid trembling in my hand. Mia watched me, her expression unreadable. "You're playing with fire, Quinn," she said, her voice low, the words sinking into the noise of the restaurant. The next day, Riley showed up at my apartment unannounced. The knock was sharp, insistent, cutting through the quiet of my Sunday morning. I opened the door, and there she was, hair slightly mussed, eyes red-rimmed, her lawyer polish replaced by raw vulnerability. The hallway smelled faintly of paint and coffee, and her presence filled the space like a storm. "Quinn, please," she said, her voice trembling. "I can't stop thinking about you. About us." I stood frozen, my hand gripping the doorknob, the cool metal grounding me. The city outside hummed. Car horns, distant sirens, the pulse of life, but in that moment it was just us, the air between us thick with everything unsaid. Riley's words hung in the air, heavy as the damp Brooklyn morning outside my apartment. Her eyes, usually so sharp and commanding, were soft now, brimming with something I hadn't seen since before the breakup. The hallway's faint paint fumes mixed with the coffee I'd been brewing, grounding me as my heart hammered. I gripped the doorknob tighter, the metal biting into my palm, and forced myself to breathe. "Riley, you can't just show up like this," I said, my voice low, unsteady. The words felt like gravel in my throat. "You made your choice." "I know," she whispered, stepping closer, her boots scuffing the worn floorboards. "I know I hurt you, Quinn. I thought I wanted something else, someone predictable. But I was wrong." Her voice cracked and she looked away, her fingers twisting the hem of her coat. The city's pulse seeped through the walls, distant horns, the low hum of a neighbor's TV, but it couldn't drown out the tremor in her words. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the memory of that June night, her cold dismissal, the way she'd walked out without looking back, burned too deep. I stepped back, letting the door swing wider, but not inviting her in. "What about Lauren?" I asked, my tone sharper than I meant. "Your serious relationship?" Riley flinched, her shoulders sagging. "Lauren, she's great. On paper. But she's not you." She met my eyes, and the rawness there hit me like a fist. "I see you with this new girl, and it's killing me, Quinn. I can't stop thinking about what we had." The mention of Mia, my fake girlfriend, sent a jolt through me. The lie I'd built was crumbling, and I wasn't sure if I was relieved or terrified. I could tell Riley the truth in this game right now. But something stopped me, maybe pride, maybe fear, maybe the part of me that still wanted her to hurt the way I had. "Come in," I said finally, my voice barely audible. She hesitated, then stepped inside, her presence filling the small apartment like it always had. The door clicked shut, a soft sound that felt final. She stood by the couch, her fingers brushing the throw pillow, the one that still held her lavender scent. I saw her notice, her lips parting slightly, but she didn't mention it. I poured her a coffee, the gurgle of the machine loud in the silence. The mug was warm in my hands, the bitter aroma grounding me as I handed it to her. Our fingers brushed, and the contact sent a shiver through me, sharp and unwelcome. "So what do you want, Riley?" I asked, leaning against the counter, my arms crossed. "You can't just waltz back in and expect me to forget everything." "I don't expect that," she said, cradling the mug like it was an anchor. I needed to see you. To tell you I messed up." She paused, her breath hitching, and I heard the faint tick of the clock on the wall, counting the seconds of her hesitation. "I saw your posts, Quinn. You and her, you look so happy. And it made me realize how much I still love you." The word love landed like a spark in dry grass. My chest tightened and I turned away, staring at the rain-streaked window. The city outside was a blur of gray and neon, the distant wail of a siren cutting through the morning. I wanted to scream that it was all fake, that Mia was just a friend, a prop to make her jealous. But the truth felt too raw, too vulnerable. Instead I said, "You don't get to say that now. Not after you walked away." "I know," she said, her voice breaking. "But I'm here, Quinn. I'm trying to fix this." I turned back to her, my eyes burning. "Fix what? You broke us. You chose someone else." My voice rose, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "Do you know what it's been like? Seeing you with her, pretending I'm fine? I'm not fine, Riley. I'm a mess." She set the mug down, the clink sharp against the counter, and crossed the room in 2 steps. Her hands hovered like she wanted to touch me but didn't dare. "I'm a mess too," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I thought I could move on, but I can't. Not from you." The air between us crackled, thick with everything we hadn't said in months. I could smell her lavender shampoo, feel the warmth of her standing so close. For a moment I let myself imagine pulling her in, kissing her, letting the past dissolve. But the weight of her betrayal was still there, heavy as the city's hum outside. "I need time," I said finally, stepping back, my voice steadier now. "I can't do this right now." Riley nodded, her eyes glistening. "I'll wait," she said, her voice soft but firm. "As long as it takes." She turned to leave, her boots echoing on the floorboards, and the door clicked shut behind her. I sank onto the couch, the pillow soft against my cheek, her scent overwhelming. My phone buzzed. Mia again. "You okay?" Her text read. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Instagram, staring at the photo of us at the restaurant, our fake smiles frozen in time. The lie had brought Riley back, but at what cost? That night I met Mia at a rooftop bar. The city sprawling below us, a sea of lights and noise. The air smelled of cigarette smoke and expensive cocktails, the chatter of strangers blending with the thump of music. Mia leaned against the railing, her camera dangling from her neck, her eyes sharp as ever. "You saw her, didn't you?" she asked, sipping her drink. I nodded, the glass cold in my hand. "She says she still loves me." The words felt foreign, like they belonged to someone else's life. Mia raised an eyebrow, her grin sly. "And you? Do you love her?" I didn't answer, just stared at the skyline, the lights blurring as my eyes stung. The truth was, I did love Riley, maybe I always would. But love wasn't enough, not when trust was shattered. Not when every post, every lie had twisted the knife deeper. "We could keep going," Mia said, her voice light but laced with warning. "One more post. Push her to the edge." I shook my head, the decision settling like a stone in my gut. "No. I'm done playing games." The decision to end the charade felt like cutting a rope I'd been clinging to. both freeing and terrifying. The city's pulse, its car horns, the distant screech of subway brakes, seemed louder that night, as if New York itself was urging me to move forward. I sat on my couch, the throw pillow still faintly scented with Riley's lavender, and deleted the latest Instagram post of Mia and me. The app's soft whoosh as it vanished felt final, like closing a chapter. My phone stayed silent after that, no buzz of notifications, no text from Riley. Just the hum of the radiator and the faint drip of a leaky faucet in the kitchen. I was 27, a graphic designer who'd always found solace in creating order from chaos, but my life felt like a canvas splattered with paint I couldn't control. Riley, 28, the lawyer who'd once been my everything, had unraveled me with her confession. "I still love you." Her words echoed, sharp and insistent, but they came with the weight of her betrayal, the memory of her walking away for someone serious like Lauren. I couldn't just let her back in, not after everything. The next morning I met Mia at a cafe in Greenpoint, the kind with exposed brick and the smell of fresh-baked croissants thick in the air. She slid into the booth across from me, her camera resting on the table, her eyes scanning my face. "You look like you haven't slept in a week," she said, her voice warm but blunt, as she stirred sugar into her coffee with a soft clink. "I ended it," I said, wrapping my hands around my mug, the warmth seeping into my palms. "The fake girlfriend thing. I deleted the post." Mia's eyebrows shot up, but she didn't look surprised. "About time," she said, leaning back. "That game was messing with your head, Quinn. And hers." She paused, sipping her coffee, the steam curling around her face. "So what's next? You gonna tell Riley the truth?" The question hung there, heavy as the clatter of dishes from the cafe's kitchen. I didn't know the answer. Telling Riley about the lie felt like stripping myself bare, admitting how desperate I'd been to hurt her. But keeping it secret felt like carrying a stone in my chest, growing heavier each day. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice low, almost lost in the hum of conversation around us. "She says she loves me, Mia. But she left me. How do I trust that?" Mia leaned forward, her fingers tapping the table. "You don't. Not yet. But you gotta figure out what you want, not what'll hurt her most." Her words were sharp, cutting through the fog in my head. Mia, 26, a photographer with a knack for seeing through people's facades, had been my rock through this mess. But even she couldn't tell me how to fix my heart. I spent the next few days avoiding Riley's texts. They came sparingly, short, careful messages like, "Can we talk again?" or "I miss you." Each one was a tug at the frayed edges of my resolve. I threw myself into work instead, sketching logos for a new client, the scratch of my pencil on paper a small comfort. But every quiet moment brought her back. The way her laugh used to fill my apartment, the way her fingers would brush mine when we walked through Prospect Park. One evening I found myself at that park again, the air crisp with autumn, the leaves crunching under my boots. The city's sounds were softer here, distant traffic, the rustle of branches, the faint quack of ducks on the pond. I sat on our old bench, the one where we'd carved our initials one drunken night, now weathered but still legible. I traced the letters with my finger, the wood rough under my touch, and felt the ache swell in my chest. That's when I saw her. Riley walking toward me, her coat pulled tight against the evening chill. She looked smaller, less like the fierce lawyer who commanded courtrooms and more like the woman who'd once cried in my arms after a bad day. My breath caught, the air sharp with the scent of fallen leaves and her lavender shampoo as she stopped a few feet away. "I figured you'd be here," she said, her voice soft, almost swallowed by the wind. "You always come here when you're thinking." I didn't deny it. "What do you want, Riley?" My voice was tired, the fight drained out of me. I stood, shoving my hands into my pockets, the leather of my jacket creaking. "I want to explain," she said, stepping closer. Her eyes were bright, reflecting the park's lamplights. Lauren, she was safe, predictable, everything I thought I needed to build the life I planned. But it's not what I want. She paused, her breath hitching, and I heard the faint tremor in it. I want you, Quinn. I always have. Her words were a knife twisting in my gut. I wanted to believe her, to fall into her arms and let the past dissolve. But the lie I'd built, the fake girlfriend, the photos, the game loomed between us. I couldn't keep it from her anymore. Riley, I said, my voice breaking, there's something you need to know. Her eyes widened, a flicker of fear crossing her face. I took a deep breath, the air cold in my lungs, and started to unravel the truth. The girl in the photo, she's not my girlfriend. She's my cousin, Mia. I made it all up to make you jealous. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of the city and the soft rustle of leaves. Riley's face shifted, shock, hurt, then something softer like relief. You faked it, she asked, her voice barely audible. I nodded, my throat tight. I wanted you to feel what I felt, but it was a mistake. It just made everything worse. She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her, smell her lavender scent. Quinn, she said, her voice trembling, I don't care about the photos. I care about you. I messed up and I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to say. The truth was out, raw and exposed, but it didn't fix the hurt. Not yet. I looked at her, at the woman I'd loved so fiercely, and felt the weight of everything. Her betrayal, my deception, the love that still burned despite it all. Let's sit, I said finally, gesturing to the bench. We sat, the wood creaking under us, the city's hum a quiet backdrop. For the first time in months we talked not about the past but about now, about what we wanted, about whether we could rebuild what we'd lost. The bench in Prospect Park felt like a lifeline, its rough wood grounding me as Riley and I sat side by side, the space between us both intimate and vast. The city's hum, distant car horns, the soft chatter of evening joggers, faded into the background, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the faint scent of her lavender shampoo. My confession about Mia hung in the air, raw and exposed, but Riley hadn't run. She was still here, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her breath visible in the cool autumn dusk. I can't believe you went through all that, she said finally, her voice soft but laced with a wry smile. A fake girlfriend? That's dramatic even for you, Quinn. I laughed, a small shaky sound that broke the tension. Yeah, well, heartbreak makes you do stupid things. I glanced at her, catching the way her eyes softened, reflecting the park's lamplights. At 28, Riley was still the sharp, ambitious lawyer I'd fallen for. But tonight, she seemed stripped down, vulnerable, her usual polish replaced by something real. I'm not proud of what I did either, she said, her fingers twisting the edge of her scarf. Leaving you for Lauren, I thought it was logical. She fit the plan, career stability, all that crap I thought mattered. She paused, her breath hitching, and I heard the faint tremor in it, like she was holding back tears. But it wasn't you. It wasn't us. The words stung, but they also soothed, like pressing a cold cloth to a bruise. I leaned back, the bench creaking, and stared at the sky, where the first stars were starting to pierce the twilight. You hurt me, Riley, I said, my voice low, steady. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. Like I couldn't be part of your big, serious life. She flinched, her hand reaching out but stopping short of mine. I know, she whispered. I was wrong. I was scared, Quinn. Scared of how much I loved you, how much I needed you. Felt messy. Unpredictable. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent weeks crafting a lie to make her jealous, to regain some control, and here she was admitting she'd run from me for the same reason, fear of losing control. The park's air was sharp with the smell of damp earth and fallen leaves, and I felt the weight of our shared mistakes settling between us. So what now? I asked, turning to face her. My heart thudded, loud in my ears, drowning out the city's distant hum. You say you love me, but what does that mean? Can we just go back? Riley shook her head, her eyes glistening. Not back. Forward. I don't know how, but I want to try. If you'll let me. Her words were a spark, igniting something I tried to bury. I wanted to believe her, to trust that we could rebuild. But trust was a fragile thing, and mine was still cracked from her leaving. I stood, needing to move, the gravel crunching under my boots. I need time, Riley, I said, my voice firmer now. I can't just jump back in. She nodded, standing too, her coat brushing against the bench. I'll wait, she said, echoing her promise from my apartment. I'll prove it to you. We parted ways under the park's lamplights, her silhouette fading into the dusk as I walked home. The city felt alive around me, neon signs buzzing, the clatter of a street vendor's cart, the faint laughter from a nearby bar. But inside I was a storm of doubt and hope, each fighting for control. The next week was a blur of work and avoidance. I threw myself into designing a new campaign, the scratch of my stylus on my tablet a small anchor. But Riley's texts kept coming, gentle, persistent, like drops of rain wearing down stone. Coffee tomorrow? Saw a dog that looked like the one we wanted to adopt. Each one was a reminder of what we'd been, what we could be. Mia noticed the change in me when we met for drinks at a dive bar in Williamsburg, the air thick with the smell of beer and fried food. You're thinking about giving her a chance, aren't you? She asked, her camera resting on the sticky table, her eyes sharp as ever. I sighed, the sound lost in the bar's hum. Glasses clinking, a jukebox playing Springsteen. I don't know, Mia. I'm scared. What if she hurts me again? Mia leaned forward, her grin softening. You're scared because you love her. That's not a bad thing, Quinn. It's just human. She paused, sipping her beer. But don't rush it. Make her earn it. Her words stuck with me as I walked home. The city's pulse a steady rhythm. Car horns, the screech of a subway, the murmur of late-night crowds. I wanted Riley, but I wanted to protect myself too. So I started small. I agreed to meet her for coffee, just the two of us, no expectations. The cafe was cozy, the air rich with the scent of espresso and cinnamon. Riley was already there, her hair pulled back, her fingers tapping nervously on her mug. She looked up as I approached, her smile tentative but warm. You came, she said, her voice soft, like she hadn't been sure I would. I'm here, I said, sliding into the chair across from her. The clink of my mug against the table felt like a starting line. We talked about work, about the city, about the little things we'd missed. It wasn't a grand reconciliation, but it was a step, fragile and real. Over the next few weeks we kept meeting, coffee, walks in the park, a late-night slice at our favorite pizza joint, the grease and cheese a nostalgic comfort. Each moment was layered with the past, her laugh, the way she'd nudge my shoulder, the quiet moments when our eyes met and held. But I kept my guard up, the memory of her leaving a shadow I couldn't shake. One night, as we stood outside my apartment, the air cold and sharp with the promise of winter, Riley reached for my hand. Her fingers were warm, familiar, and I didn't pull away. I'm not going anywhere, Quinn, she said, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hand. I'll keep showing up until you believe me. I looked at her, the streetlights casting soft shadows on her face, and felt the first crack in my defenses. Maybe we couldn't go back, but maybe we could build something new, something stronger if we were both willing to try. The street outside my apartment glowed under the sodium hum of streetlights. The city's pulse a quiet undercurrent, distant horns, the soft clatter of a bodega shutter rolling down. Riley's hand was still in mine, her fingers warm and steady, her words lingering. I'll keep showing up until you believe me. At 28, she was still the lawyer whose sharp mind and sharper smile had stolen my heart 2 years ago. But now, standing in the November chill, she was just Riley, vulnerable, earnest, her breath visible in the cold air. I was 27, a graphic designer who'd always found truth in colors and shapes, but my heart was a canvas of doubt and longing. I wanted to trust her, to let her back in, but the memory of her walking away for Lauren, her serious choice, still stung sharp as the wind cutting through my leather jacket. I squeezed her hand, then let go, stepping back. I hear you, Riley, I said, my voice low, rough, but I'm not ready yet. Her eyes flickered with hurt, but she nodded, her scarf fluttering as she shoved her hands into her coat pockets. I'll wait, she said, her voice soft but firm, echoing the promise she'd made before. She turned to leave, her boots clicking on the sidewalk, and I watched her disappear into the city's glow. my chest tight with the weight of her absence. Inside, my apartment felt too small, the air heavy with the scent of coffee and the faint lavender of that damn throw pillow. I collapsed onto the couch, my phone buzzing with a text from Mia. "How's it going with lawyer lady?" I smiled despite myself. Mia, 26, the photographer who'd played my fake girlfriend, had a way of cutting through my chaos with her blunt humor. I typed back, "Complicated. But I'm trying." The next few weeks were a slow dance of rebuilding. Riley and I met regularly. Coffee shops, park benches, a quiet bookstore where the smell of old paper and ink felt like a refuge. Each meeting was a thread weaving something new between us. She'd show up with my favorite latte, foam art slightly lopsided, or text me a photo of a sunset over the East River, captioned, "Wish you were here." Small gestures, but they carried weight, each one chipping away at the wall I'd built. One evening we ended up at a jazz club in Harlem, the air thick with cigarette smoke and the wail of a saxophone. Riley leaned close, her shoulder brushing mine, her laugh soft as the music swelled. "Remember when we came here for our first date?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the drum's pulse. I nodded, the memory sharp, the way her eyes had sparkled under the dim lights, the way her hand had found mine during a slow song. "You spilled wine on your shirt," I said, a smile tugging at my lips. "Tried to play it cool, but you were mortified." She laughed, the sound warm, familiar, and for a moment it felt like we'd never been apart. But the past was still there, a shadow in the corner of every laugh, every touch. I sipped my drink, the bourbon burning my throat, and asked the question that had been gnawing at me. "What happened with Lauren?" Riley's smile faded, her fingers tightening around her glass. The club's hum, clinking glasses, murmured conversations seemed to fade as she spoke. "She was everything I thought I wanted," she said, her voice low, deliberate. "Stable, predictable, on the same track as me. But it felt hollow, like I was checking boxes instead of living." She paused, her breath hitching, and I heard the faint tremor in it. "I kept comparing her to you, Quinn. Your passion, your chaos. I missed that. I missed us." Her words were a knife cutting through the noise. I wanted to believe her, but doubt lingered, sharp as the saxophone's wail. "And if I let you back in," I said, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest, "how do I know you won't run again when things get messy?" She met my eyes, her gaze unflinching. "You don't. But I'm here, showing up, trying to prove it. I'll keep trying until you trust me." The music shifted, a slow, mournful tune that matched the ache in my chest. I didn't respond, just let her words settle, heavy as the smoke curling around us. We stayed until the set ended, the applause a sharp burst in the quiet, and walked out into the night, the city's pulse louder now, car horns, the rumble of a passing train. Back at my apartment I lay awake, the radiators hum a steady rhythm. Riley's persistence was wearing me down, but so was my own fear. I didn't want to be hurt again. Didn't want to lose myself in her only to be left behind. But I also couldn't deny the pull. The way her presence still felt like home. The next day I called Mia, needing her clarity. We met at a pier in Dumbo, the Manhattan skyline glittering across the river, the air sharp with salt and the faint smell of hot dogs from a nearby cart. "I'm scared, Mia," I admitted, leaning against the railing, the metal cold under my palms. "I want her back, but I don't know if I can trust her." Mia adjusted her camera, her eyes sharp as she studied me. "You don't have to decide today," she said, her voice steady. "But you can't keep punishing her for the past. Or yourself." She paused, snapping a photo of the skyline, the shutters click a soft punctuation. "Give her a chance, but set boundaries. Protect yourself." Her advice was a lifeline, practical and grounding. I nodded, the wind tugging at my hair, and felt a small shift inside me. A willingness to try, to risk the fall. That night I texted Riley. "Dinner tomorrow. My place. Let's talk." Her reply was instant. "I'll be there." My heart thudded, a mix of fear and hope, as I set my phone down and stared out the window, the city's lights a constellation of possibilities. The kitchen smelled of garlic and basil, the sizzle of pasta sauce filling my apartment as I stirred the pot, the wooden spoon warm in my hand. I'd spent the day preparing for Riley's visit, my nerves a live wire despite the familiar comfort of cooking. At 27, I was used to channeling chaos into my graphic designs, but tonight, I was trying to create something else, space for us to start over. The city outside hummed softly, the distant wail of a siren blending with the clink of dishes as I set the table. Riley arrived at 7, her knock steady but soft, like she was afraid to break the moment. I opened the door and there she was, 28, her lawyer's polish softened by a loose sweater and jeans, her hair falling in waves, her eyes bright with nervous hope. The faint scent of her lavender shampoo hit me, mixing with the warm aroma of dinner, and my heart stuttered. "Hey," she said, her voice low, a smile tugging at her lips. "Smells amazing." "Thanks," I said, stepping aside to let her in. The door clicked shut, a quiet punctuation, and we stood there for a moment, the air thick with anticipation. I gestured to the table where candles flickered, casting soft shadows on the walls. "Hope you're hungry." We sat, the clink of forks against plates filling the silence at first. The city's pulse was faint through the windows, car horns, the low rumble of a subway, but inside it was just us, the candlelight warming her face. "This feels like old times," she said, twirling pasta, her voice soft but heavy with meaning. I nodded, my throat tight. "Yeah, but it's not." The words came out sharper than I meant, and she looked up, her fork pausing mid-air. I sighed, the sound swallowed by the room's quiet. "I want this, Riley. I want us. But I'm scared. You left once. How do I know you won't again?" She set her fork down, the clink sharp, and leaned forward, her hands clasped. "You don't," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her eyes. "I can't erase what I did, Quinn. I thought I needed someone like Lauren. Someone who fit my stupid checklist. But I was wrong. I was running from how much I felt for you. How much you challenged me to be real." She paused, her breath hitching, and I heard the faint tick of the clock on the wall. "I'm here now. I'll keep showing up every day until you trust me." Her words were a lifeline, but they didn't erase the doubt. I pushed my plate aside, the pasta cooling, and met her gaze. "I faked a girlfriend to hurt you," I said, the confession spilling out. "I wanted you to feel what I felt. Left behind, replaced. But it just made me miss you more." Riley's eyes softened, a mix of pain and understanding. "I deserved it," she said quietly. "I hurt you and I hate that. But I'm not running anymore." She reached across the table, her hand hovering over mine, waiting for permission. I let her fingers brush mine, the contact warm, electric, and for a moment, the past faded, leaving only the flicker of candles and the weight of her promise. We talked late into the night, the food forgotten, the city's hum a distant backdrop. She told me about her months with Lauren, how it had been safe but empty, how she'd wake up missing my laugh, my chaos. I told her about the fake photos with Mia, how each one had been a knife in my own heart. It wasn't a perfect conversation, but it was honest, raw, the kind of talk we hadn't had since before the breakup. When she left, the air felt lighter, like the first breath after a storm. I stood at my window watching her disappear into the Brooklyn night, the streetlights casting long shadows. My phone buzzed, Mia checking in. "How'd it go?" her text read. I smiled, typing back. "Better than I expected." The next few weeks were a careful dance. Riley showed up, coffee dates, late-night walks, a Sunday at the farmer's market where we bought apples and laughed like we used to. Each moment was a brick, rebuilding what we'd lost, but I kept my guard up, testing her consistency. She didn't falter. She'd text me silly memes, show up with my favorite pastries, sit with me in silence when I needed it. Slowly, the cracks in my trust began to mend. One night, we ended up at Coney Island, the boardwalk quiet in the off-season, the air sharp with salt and the distant clang of arcade games. We walked hand in hand, the waves crashing softly, the lights of the Ferris wheel spinning in the distance. "I love you, Quinn," Riley said, stopping to face me, her voice steady despite the wind tugging at her hair. "I'm all in if you'll have me." My heart thudded, the sound louder than the ocean. I looked at her, her fierce eyes, her trembling lips, and felt the last of my walls crumble. "I love you too," I said, my voice breaking. "But we go slow. No rushing. No checklists." She nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek, and pulled me into a hug, her warmth a shield against the cold. The boardwalk stretched out before us, empty but full of promise, the city's pulse a quiet rhythm in the background. Back home I lay awake, the radiators hum a familiar comfort. For the first time in months I felt hope. Not the reckless kind that had fueled my fake girlfriend's scheme, but something real, grounded. Riley and I weren't fixed, not yet, but we were trying, and that was enough for now. The next day I met Mia for coffee, the cafe buzzing with morning chatter, the air rich with espresso and cinnamon. "You're glowing," she said, her camera resting on the table, her grin sly. "Guess the lawyer's winning you over." I laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. "She's trying," I said. "And I'm letting her." Mia nodded, her eyes warm, and I knew she understood. The city outside kept moving, horns blaring, life rushing on. But for the first time I felt like I was moving with it, toward something new. The Coney Island boardwalk stayed with me, the memory of Riley's arms around me, the salt-sharp air, and the quiet promise we'd made to go slow. It was December now, the Brooklyn air biting. The city decked in holiday lights that twinkled against the gray sky. At 27 I was still a graphic designer wrestling with chaos. But for the first time in months, my heart felt like it might find its way. Riley, 28, the lawyer who'd once broken me, was proving herself, one small steady step at a time. Our days together became a rhythm. Coffee in the mornings, her hand brushing mine as we passed the mug. Walks through Prospect Park, the crunch of snow under our boots. Quiet nights in my apartment, the radiator's hum blending with her soft laughter. The city's pulse, car horns, the clatter of subway cars, the murmur of crowds, felt like a backdrop to something new, something we were building together. But the past still lingered, a shadow I couldn't fully shake. One evening we sat on my couch, the throw pillow, still faintly lavender-scented, tucked between us. The TV played some holiday movie, its sound muted, the glow casting flickering shadows on Riley's face. She turned to me, her eyes soft but serious. "Quinn," she said, her voice low, deliberate, "I need you to know I'm not going anywhere. Not this time." I looked at her, the woman who'd once been my everything, then nothing, and now something else. The hurt was still there, a dull ache, but it was softer now, smoothed by her consistency, her effort. "I believe you're trying," I said, my voice steady despite the lump in my throat. "But trust takes time, Riley. I'm getting there." She nodded, her fingers finding mine, the contact warm, grounding. "I'll keep earning it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The city outside was quiet, the snow muffling its usual chaos, and for a moment it was just us, the weight of our past and the hope of our future balanced in the space between. Christmas Eve brought us to a rooftop party in Williamsburg, the air sharp with cold and the smell of mulled wine. The skyline glittered, Manhattan's lights a constellation across the river. Riley stood close, her arm around my waist, her warmth cutting through the chill. Friends milled around, their laughter mixing with the thump of music, but I only saw her, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, the way she leaned into me like I was her anchor. Mia was there too, her camera flashing as she captured the night, her grin as disarming as ever. "You two look good together," she said later, sidling up with a glass of wine, her voice warm but teasing. At 26, Mia had been my co-conspirator, my fake girlfriend, my rock. Now she was just my cousin, my friend, watching me find my way back to Riley. "Thanks for everything, Mia," I said, my voice thick with gratitude. "The photos, the support, I'd have lost it without you." She shrugged, her grin sly. "Just don't fake another girlfriend, okay? You're terrible at it." We laughed, the sound swallowed by the party's hum, and I felt a weight lift, the last remnants of my reckless plan fading into the night. Later, Riley and I slipped away from the crowd, standing at the rooftop's edge, the city sprawling below. The wind carried the faint scent of snow and chimney smoke, and her hand found mine, her fingers threading through my own. "I love you, Quinn," she said, her voice steady, clear despite the wind. I'm all in for real this time. I looked at her, the woman who'd broken my heart and was now piecing it back together, and felt the truth of her words settle deep. I love you too, I said, my voice breaking but sure. Let's do this right. We kissed, her lips warm against the cold, the city's lights blurring as my eyes closed. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There were still cracks to mend, trust to rebuild, but it was real, raw, ours. The party's music pulsed behind us, the clink of glasses and laughter a quiet celebration, and I felt the future open up, vast and possible. The next morning we woke in my apartment, tangled in blankets, the radiators hum a familiar comfort. The city outside was quiet, the snow blanketing Brooklyn in a rare hush. Riley stirred beside me, her hair spilling across the pillow, her breath soft and even. I traced her jaw with my finger, the touch light, and she opened her eyes, her smile sleepy but warm. "Merry Christmas," she whispered, her voice thick with sleep. "Merry Christmas," I said back, my heart full. We lay there, the world outside paused, and I knew this was just the beginning. Not a return to what we'd been, but a step towards something new, stronger, built on honesty, on showing up. Later we walked through the snow-dusted streets, hand in hand, the crunch of our boots a steady rhythm. The city was waking up. Coffee shops buzzing, kids laughing as they built snowmen in the park. Riley squeezed my hand, her glove warm against mine, and I felt it. Hope, real and unshakable. We weren't perfect. We'd hurt each other, lied, stumbled. But we were here, choosing each other day by day. And as the snow fell, soft and quiet, I knew that was enough. The city's pulse kept beating, horns, laughter, life, and we moved with it together toward whatever came.